I'll start with giving a brief background about my journey so far. As I was introduced, I'm a professional with 25 plus years of experience, and a large part of this experience has been into management. I started my journey with ERP implementations, and I was into this for about 7 odd years. Then moved into development, was there only for 1 or 2 years, and then chose to get into management and processes as a profession. So those are my two core competencies, project management and processes. And I'm not going to talk very technical stuff, and I'm not going to talk project management and processes either. All I'm going to be doing is sharing some thoughts on what makes a professional successful, what are some ingredients that you can invest on to make your career journey more fruitful and satisfying. Alright, so that is what we are going to talk about. I'm not going to discuss anything very specific to technology. Lots of people will do that later in the day. So the first thing that I want to share here is that there are some pillars to success, and I'm sure these are not the pillars. If somebody else does this talk, they will share some other pillars. So these, according to me, are some pillars to success, and I would like to share some of those with you with some illustrations. The first pillar that I want to talk about is taking initiative and innovating. Alright, so when we are working in the industry, when we are doing things, quite often, the customer feedback specifically for Indians is that we do as we are asked. Right? One of the feedback customers often share with us is we do what we are asked to do, and we don't even ask questions. Right? So, jo bola wo kar diya. That is the kind of feedback we often get for people working from our country. Some of you are resonating with this thought. I am seeing some reactions, right? So that's something that needs to change for us to become more competitive. We have to become people who are willing to take initiative, who are willing to go beyond what is asked, thinking, creating something, coming up with new ideas and innovative thoughts. I want to share one simple story from my own experience. This was during my early years when I was doing ERP implementation. In this one organization that I was working, and that was very early days, okay? Those days, email was new, internet was new. So I'm talking that older story, okay? There was no such thing called AI. It was all in the books, not visibly there. You see it all around you nowadays. So those ages I'm talking about. So when we were doing this ERP implementation, we didn't have this big words called decision-making systems and things like that. Okay. We had basics like management information system. Okay, that was the time I'm talking about. So when we did this ERP implementation, there was this continuous challenge that we were facing in the business. And every time there would be a business review meeting, all the business heads would be running for collecting data. Was there to make some presentations and data where we had transaction processing systems there. So they would always be running around data, and every month we would have this chase with IT team. I need this data, I need that data, I need this data, I need that data, and we would be on our toes providing this data to them. Now that's a business problem. The life was going on. There was no such issue as such. But when we were working in this situation, I came up with this idea of creating a denormalized database and having every information collated there, and allowing the users to extract whatever data they needed on their own. That's it, simple. Okay? Data warehouse word was not known to us then, but we just created this and it worked wonders. The CEO of the organization found this very, very useful, and he said this has solved so many of my problems, and actually he was very elated with just a simple solution. Okay? Quite often when we look at a problem statement, we think there is going to be a big solution to it. Very often solutions are simple, they are small, they are basic. So don't try to look for big grand solutions to problems that you're facing in life. Simple initiatives, simple innovative solutions go a long way, right? As I can say, this is a very simple thing we did, right? Of course, then on the company invested into business intelligence and we moved further with a lot of things in this direction. But basics always goes right. I mean, for a few time back when this was not working, we went to basics, right? He said, it's okay, I can speak a little louder, you can come a little front. So sometimes simple solutions to larger problems are better. Alright, so that is one thing I want to tell you. Don't go by the line that everyone is following. Try to think different, try to think innovatively, and think simple. Don't complicate. Life today is very complicated and we tend to think everything has to be complicated only. But simple things work wonders. So I would give one pillar of success is whenever you are involved in any organization doing anything, look at simple solutions to problems and be alert and open about finding these solutions. Okay? The second thing that I want to talk about is unconditional accountability. Alright, we hear this word ownership, responsibility, but quite often it is conditional, isn't it? It is conditional. If I get this, then I will make it happen. If I have this, I will make it happen. If this is there, I will do this. If I get this, if this dependency is resolved, I will make it happen. Very often in the industry, the approach taken by people is, there are certain things, if I get, then I am responsible. If I don't get, I am not responsible for the results. You are responsible for the results, whatever it is. Right? That's one open-ended commitment you should have to your objectives, assignments, expectations, whatever is given to you. And you need to make it happen. Right? Now, the moment you take that kind of an approach, you'll start finding solutions. The moment you say, if this happens, I will do it, you're in the back seat. You're relaxing. Somebody will do something, then I will do something. It's a very dependent mode of success. That means my success is dependent on others. How can I let my success be dependent on others? My success is only dependent on me and I make it happen. Success is always mine. Right? I don't let that be played on or coined on by anybody else. I'm responsible for my success, I make it happen. Take that approach to life, works wonders. I'll illustrate another story to give an example to this. So we had a project in a particular company that I was working with. This project was to migrate a legacy software into the newer technologies. Again, I'm talking of quite some time back. So the newer technology then was .NET. And this project which we had to upgrade was COBOL plus C Sharp and so on. It was composite of very old technologies. We were to migrate this to .NET, new technology then. Now this software was developed by a gentleman who worked on it for 40 long years. Okay? He spent his entire life making this software and making it run for the company. And when we got this project, this particular, so we have customer challenges when we run projects, right? And how supportive is your customer? Not always. So I'm hearing a lot of people reacting. It's like you almost confirm that he is not very supportive, right? So this particular customer, as you can imagine, he was very obsessed by his software. He was 65 years of age there. Alright, so 65 years of age, more than 40 years into the software, and he didn't want to leave it still. Okay, so when we started this migration project, he refused to support us at all. He said, do whatever you want to. I'm giving you the code. There's no documentation obviously because he was a single man army. So you do whatever you want to and get me this. And the management wanted us to do it. We had the order to do it, as in we had the purchase order to do it. Now obviously we can always say dependency 1, 2, 3, if this happens we can do it, this happens we can do it, this happens we can do it, approach 1. We chose a different approach. We said we're going to make this happen if nobody on the earth supports us also. So with my team of technical people, we went into reverse engineering the entire functionality and technicality of this software. To make the things more complicated, what we observed was this gentleman, because originally this software started in COBOL. Okay. So in the name of upgrades, what this gentleman had done was he had built layers of software. So the original was in COBOL only. Okay, the original software was in COBOL. Original database was a proprietary database. And then he had layers of C, then another layer of C++, and then another layer of VB. And you can imagine when you debug, you don't traverse these layers, right? It stops. So all we could see is something is being called and then everything would stop. So we had this technical team, we would sit in this room and we would like scrub through this entire code and struggle through this entire thing, and every day we would run into one bottleneck. We know where we are going now. This went on for around 10 odd days. And finally we had this eureka moment, we knew the entire flow. Okay? What I'm trying to again say is that don't give up. Right? Don't assume that if this doesn't happen, I can't do it. There are other ways. Explore and find alternate ways. There will be roadblocks. There will be hurdles. But you need to figure out how you will continue to traverse your journey. Okay? Let me go on to share this story further. So interestingly, of course, after 10 days we broke this puzzle and then we did this upgrade and the software happened. And believe it happened on schedule, in effort, with quality, with documentation, with everything that you would want. It was as if the most perfect thing has happened. And best part of it is yet to come. This same gentleman, the 65-year-old man, wrote a complimentary email to us that you guys have done a fantastic job. That was the last thing, icing on the cake. We didn't expect it, right? So what I'm again trying to say is, when the effort is in the right direction, success will come, may come late, and is often sweeter than what you expected it to be. Alright? So invest on it. Don't ever assume that you have a limited potential. You have unlimited potential. Exploit it. Okay? Let's go to the third one. So we have seen two pillars so far. The first pillar was initiative. The second one is unconditional accountability. Lovely. You are beautiful, audience. I go to the third one. The third one I want to talk about is customer centricity. ये तो बहुत सुना है. Customer first, customer oriented, customer satisfaction, and so many words around it. I want to attach it with one more word to give it a deeper meaning. Continuous improvement. Okay? And again I'm going to share a story around it. So what are we talking about? We are talking about customer centricity with continuous improvement. That's what we want to talk about. Okay? And that's the third pillar I'm going to talk about for your growth. Customer centric we are, isn't it? Quite often we are more customer centric than we should be. Tell me how? How are we more customer centric than we should be?
By being so much obliged to them.
हाँ, मतलब हम सब कुछ करने तैयार है, right? And do as directed है ना? वो जो बोलेगा वो हम करेंगे. हम उसको कभी क्वेश्चन नहीं करते. इससे ज्यादा कस्टमर सेंट्रिक क्या हो सकता है? हाँ? Be a customer. Dear customer. Okay. So, but this is not good. And let me tell you why. So suppose we all have some children in our home, right? If the child asks for X, we give X. He asks for Y, we give Y. He asks for A, we give him A. He asks for everything, we give him everything. What does the child become? Spoiled. Isn't it? The same is true for customer also. Right? So you do everything he asks for, he also becomes, in the sense that he is not going to be valuable to his own company. Because finally customer Ambadkar is one representative from his company, isn't it? So he's also going to become, he's not going to be able to add value to his own organization. So it's not going to be useful for anyone, not for you, not for the customer. Because your customer is not the person you're talking to. Remember this. Your customer is the organization, not the person you're talking to. And quite often you're keeping that person happy. So the organization is not necessarily happy because he is happy. Right? Quite often there is this one more phenomenon that you see in the industry. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. What does this mean? I'll not complain about you, you don't complain about me. Right? Happens? Right? So what happens is the customer says, तू शांति से अपना काम कर, मैं तेरे को कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा, मैं मेरा काम नहीं करूँ, dependency solve नहीं हो, मुझे कुछ बोलना मत, escalation करना मत. And we are very happy not escalating. How many of us like doing escalations? How many of us do escalations when they are required? Right? Because we want to keep him happy, right? Our first contact point should be happy. That's not really true. It's like that child who was asking for something and we kept giving it to him. Sometimes you have to say no to the child, sometimes you have to say no to the customer also. And that's perfectly alright. So customer centric, I'm trying to give a boundary to it, is not doing everything he asks for. We have to validate what is good for the customer, what is not good for the customer. And when we say something is good for the customer, it has to meet their end objectives. Right? So if customer wants to have a particular software go live on a particular date, that's his objective. If he wants to make so many crore revenue out of a system, that's his objective. If a particular stakeholder whom you are interacting with does not facilitate this goal, and you're going to continue to comply with him, you're not letting the company achieve the big goal. And in that case, you're not doing customer-centric delivery at all. So what should we do? Can we keep this guy unhappy? Child को तो बोल देंगे, हम साइड में नहीं मिलेगा, रोएगा तो एक चाटा भी मार देंगे इंडियन कल्चर में. उसको क्या करेंगे?
मैम हम उस सिचुएशन में ना उसको एक्चुअल ऑब्जेक्टिव याद कराएंगे और उसको क्लैरिटी देंगे कि अगर हम ये चीज़ करते हैं तो इसका नतीजा क्या हो सकता है, अगर ये चीज़ नहीं करते हैं तो इसका नतीजा, उसको एक क्लैरिटी के साथ चीज़ को ओपन बुक करके उसको बता देंगे कि ये हो सकता है. फिर डिसीजन कहीं ना कहीं हम जो चाहते हैं वो उनसे बुलवाएंगे.
Which is very true. Does this happen? Sometimes. Right? Many times we do this much. इतना तो करते हैं, इतना तो हम कर लेते हैं. पर दिक्कत हमें तब आती है जब ये करने के बाद रास्ता नहीं खुलता है. फिर हम सोचते हैं ठीक है ना, उसका प्रोजेक्ट, उसकी कंपनी, जो करना है करो तुम. So that is where वो unconditional वाला point भी वापस trigger हो रहा है. Isn't it? So what I want to say here is, now this is one side of the story, okay? The other side of the story is, of course, customer wants something we are unable to give. Okay, now it can be because he is not supporting, it can be because we are not capable. But ये दोनों reasons होते हैं, right? When customer is not supporting and he should be giving us necessary support to achieve certain goals, we should not hesitate making the necessary escalations. We shouldn't hesitate. Okay? Initially, when you start the project, you should very clearly know what is the communication hierarchy that you have. Right? And you should report the issues. You should have a reporting mechanism in place, that how are you going to report issues and how are you going to escalate issues, and that should be very practically done, very professionally done, without any hesitation. ठीक है? Don't worry about it. Beginning से करोगे ना तो उसको आदत हो जाएगी. आप कब शुरू करते हो? जब प्रॉब्लम होती है. तब वो बोलता है कि तुम मेरे को मारने के लिए कर रहे हो ये. So at beginning of the project when everything is hunky dory, तब से start करो ये process. So then later he is not going to be able to complain because you were always doing it. Right? But escalate where you need to. We'll focus on the second part, which is more in our control, wherein we should be delivering something we are not able to deliver. I'm going to again give an example. Okay, so this was one customer, an international European customer. We had a challenge. So I received an escalation. Well, it was reverse. I received the escalation. Customer said the quality of releases is a big deal. It's an issue right now. We're not happy with what we get. Now obviously an issue of this kind is something very internal facing, and corrections have to come from within. And quite often this is again a very often scenario, right? We see this scenario often. It's quite common, isn't it? Quality issues. And we were far from where we wanted to be. That's where I'm going to talk about keeping customer happy and continuous improvement journey, right? So day one, I'm not going to be able to bring in a change which is phenomenal. It's going to be an incremental process. And you know what we agreed with the customer? We agreed with this customer that as long as we have to release a feature second time, you will allow. Third time करना पड़ा तो problem है. Can you beat this? He said एक बार problem आएगा तो आप okay होने चाहिए, दो बार problem आएगा तो you should not be okay. And do you think customer agreed to this? Customer did. So we told the customer that improvement is going to be a continuous process. We will start with this. Okay, so we took baby steps to get things in order. We communicated to the customer. We agreed with customer. We started tracking defect density, and then we also started tracking the number of times we had to give re-releases or release back the feature again. We started tracking these two things, and we started publishing data. So shuru mein we had few instances where we had to give release 2 times or 3 times also. We started tracking it all. Slowly, this started reducing. And then there was a time that there was a rare situation where we had to release the feature again. So that's where customer-centric with continuous improvement. Customer will not be happy day one sometimes. Sometimes when you deliver something, you may not be perfect. Everything does not, no customer journey is going to be a, only upward graph. There will be days where you are on a down roll and then there will be an up roll and so on. So we had this situation and we turned around. The same customer was happy after some time. So when you show your intent, when you show your commitment and you agree a road to progression, right, which is agreeable to customer, you cannot go and give something which is absolutely not okay. So you have to look at what is the current data looking like, what is the improvement that you will show, in how much time can you show this improvement, share this path with the team and customer, take buy-in of everyone involved and move towards that. And with small steps, we could turn this customer on. Very simple journey. Again, I am giving you only simple examples. This is also a very simple example, right? Not a very complex one. So again, if you see, all three are there. Initiative, unconditional accountability, and customer centricity with continuous improvement. So we took very simple, small steps, work together as a team. So you see again, teamwork is repeating. Right, even the second one, we had that team working together. Here again, we had the team working together on that goal. Right? But we could turn this customer around. There are many examples like this. I'm sure if you will go back into your own project life, you'll find certain cases wherein you did such simple things on an incremental basis. Right? So wo jo boond boond se sagar bharta hai, it is quite similar, right? Taking small steps in a continual manner results in big gains. So again, simplicity, simple solutions sometimes go a long way. Okay? So that's the third pillar I wanted to talk about. The fourth one is motivation. So I've already spoken of teamwork 2 times. Right? So now we go to the main point, which is the team motivation. अब team motivation बोला तो सब लोग जो leaders हैं वो तो सोचेंगे ठीक है मुझे तो किसी को करना है. वो जो यहाँ टीम मेंबर्स बैठे हैं वो सोचेंगे कोई मुझे करेगा. सही है, हाथ ऊपर करें जो लोग ऐसा सोच रहे हैं, नहीं करना चाहेंगे. No worries. Right, so what I want to say here about motivation is, motivation has to be intrinsic. Okay, I'm talking of intrinsic motivation, not somebody coming and motivating you. Right, I've been told that I have to give an inspiring talk here. Oh, I want to tell you this inspiration cannot come from outside sources all the time. It has to be internal. It has to come from within. Your inspiration is within you. Your motivation is within you. ये पहले 3 हो ही नहीं सकते उसके बिना. So you see, all the 4 pillars are related. Will you take initiative if you are not motivated? Will you be customer centric with continuous improvement? Unconditional accountability. ये चारों साथ में ही खड़े होंगे. पिलर्स हमेशा साथ में होते ना. एक पिलर पे बिल्डिंग नहीं खड़ी हो सकती. All 4 pillars need to be together. That's why I use the word pillar here. Okay? Motivation has to be intrinsic, and it is only human to have moments when we are not motivated. So am I motivated all through 365 days a year? Not necessarily. I may be motivated some days of the year, I may not be motivated some days of the year. But the point is that we need to make sure that those slots are very small and we come out of it very soon. Right? So we have to ensure that we stay intrinsically motivated. We are not dependent on external environment for our success. We are not dependent on external environment for our own motivation. Okay? Self-motivated. Okay? So that's the other thing I want to talk about. To give an example here, of course, I'm talking of motivation from external source. So there was this, again, another customer where the project I was transitioned into a new project, and the customer was not happy with us, another unhappy scenario. So the first call I had with this customer, the customer said, we want to close this project. And I said, oh, what a way to start the project, right? So I spoke to the team, and this is extrinsic motivation at work, okay? So I spoke to the team, I told them the scenario, I analyzed the situation. I had asked the customer, give me 1 week to turn around. So we discussed with the team, we agreed on certain things, we make certain incremental changes, but this is extrinsic motivation again, okay? So as a leader, I was doing the motivation. We started creating very specific goals. Team, because of this extrinsic motivation, was willing to invest as much time as required to turn around. So motivation is a combination of intrinsic and extrinsic. And as leaders, so whoever are leaders here, we have to invest on the extrinsic part of it. As individuals, we have to invest on intrinsic part of it. And there's one more part which you can always do, peer motivation. Right? You can always do the peer motivation. These are 4 pillars that are very necessary to ensuring that we as an individual are successful and able to complement our journey sufficiently well. International customer visiting our company, we went to airport to pick them up. On the return from the airport to the office, the journey. So you know how traffic is in our country, right? And when we have foreigners visit, we are very conscious about it. So we were also very conscious what would be the customer thinking, what would he be feeling about it. It was their maiden visit to our country. So we were just silently observing what happens, what do they have to say. And then we had different animals crossing the street. So we said, okay, let's see what happens. Then came a comment. So itni silence ke baad, a comment came in. And the comment was very interesting. We in UK follow waterfall. People in India are quite agile. And I was like, it is very nice you're telling me. I didn't know whether it was genuinely a compliment or a disorder being reported. But anyways, what I found was interesting that they said our country was agile. And I want to connect this to an element of agility not often spoken about. And the word that I would coin for this is professional agility. Are we professionally agile? Are we agile professionals? And what would it mean to be an agile professional? Anybody wants to comment? What would be an agile professional or professional agility?
A person who can follow that 4 pillars can be agile.
वो तो फिर भी काफी फिक्स्ड है ना पिलर्स तो फिक्स्ड है वो तो डिफाइन कर दिया 4 चेंज कहाँ है फिर हमने 2 वर्ड्स सुने when I talked about what is agility 2 words which I prominently heard was change and adapt पिलर तो फिक्स है
टीम मेंबर से कुछ भी होगा अरे देख लेंगे कर लेंगे वाला मैनेजरिटी
ये एजिलिटी है मैं प्रोफेशनल एजिलिटी की बात कर रही हूँ इंडिविजुअल पे हैं हम मैं करियर प्रोजेक्ट पे नहीं हूँ यू एज एन इंडिविजुअल यू आर अजाइल वी आर नॉट इन ऑफिस यू आर अ प्रोफेशनल इंडिपेंडेंट प्रोफेशनल एज अ प्रोफेशनल आर यू अजाइल हमारे प्रोफेशन में हमें क्या एजिलिटी चाहिए
Tackle the various situations.
Tackle various situations, okay. Anybody wants to add?
Constant adapt new technology.
Growth. Anybody else wants to add? Adapting to new technologies, very well said.
रेगुलर बेसिस पे चीज़ों को लर्न करना
Yes, connecting to that. Anybody else? Professional financial growth. Ready for uncertainty. Okay, all right. So professional agility, I would say, is there it is required very much in our career. Okay, it is very much required in our career. And why do we need it? So there is obviously a lot of technological changes happening all around us. And we learned X when we came out of college. We learned Y when we got into our first project. But there's Z, A, B, C and so many other things happening around us much faster than ever. So we need to adapt and learn these new technologies, new technical skills that are happening around us on our own. And very often I find people learning these when they get a project. So they say, I want to work on new technology, I will learn new technology and work on this project. So that's not agility. Agility is being ready for the future. Right? So I know this is coming. Am I ready for it? Second aspect of agility is role. As you grow, your role changes. When your role changes, there are different skills expected of you. There are soft skills expected from you, team leading skills, communication skills, people skills, and so many other skills expected from you. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the skills which are required? Leadership skills, industry specific skills. So as an individual, we should be continuously assessing what are the skills expected of me in my professional journey, what are the skills I currently have, what is the gap that is there, and what is it that I am going to do to be ready for the future. Right? And prioritization and balancing are very important acts. Since there are a lot of women here, I want to touch upon an element of concerns or challenges women specifically face, which is related to balancing the family needs and the work environment needs. That's one challenge we face very regularly. And for us to be ready for the future, that means third dimension add हो गया ना? तो कैसे हम balance करेंगे? Prioritization is one very important need of the hour for all of us. We need to be able to prioritize. One feedback I'll give in particular to women, it's not necessary not applicable for other gender, it's applicable for everyone, but in particular I'm discussing this because of the occasion that we are having this event for today, is getting help. We should organize help for ourselves in whatever formats we can to reduce and balance the priorities across different dimensions that we handle. Okay, I was seeing an interview of Indra Nui once, and obviously she is a role model and she is definitely a very inspiring lady, has achieved a lot in her life. When I saw this interview of her, she was speaking about same challenges that you and me face. She said, I'm an Indian, and whatever you become in life, an Indian society expects X of a woman. And I was like, okay, so you face the same challenges. She said one piece of advice, which I particularly have already said it here: get help, get support systems, or you will not be able to make your career sustainable for long. So please look at what all the things that you have on your plate, look at where you can get support to balance ends between your work and personal requirements that you have. Right? So that is one element that I want to particularly state for women. This is nowadays applicable to men also. They, when both husband, wife or more family members are working, men equally share responsibility, and then they have these challenges also. So balancing helps you to settle down these challenges. With that, I would like to bring this to kind of a conclusion because I'm short of time now. I would have loved to talk longer, but in interest of time, I'll end this by saying that you all have wings of fire. Please make sure that you keep these wings of fire alight. You have everything in you to make a change, make an impact, contribute to the society, contribute to your growth. Please make an unconditional effort to make something big out of your career and do something that you and your family will be proud of. So all the best for your journey, and thank you so much for giving me such a fine hearing and being so participative. Thank you so much.